Okay, I haven't finished watching all of the day 27 testimony yet, but I've already learned one thing. In a day and age where the cost of housing has skyrocketed, rents are just outrageous, it is so good to know that Turtle Boy gets to live rent-free inside of Hank Brennan's head. I mean, seriously, that whole asking Lucky, like, did the blogger intimidate you? And Lucky's just sitting there saying, like, I wasn't bullied, I wasn't intimidated, I wasn't coerced, I wasn't forced to do this. The truth is that the prosecution has such a hard time believing that anybody would say anything wrong against the Alberts. Like, they just think that the Alberts run this town and everybody loves them, and everyone who's known them for 30 years just thinks they're the greatest thing since sliced bread. And so when there is a detractor, they think, well, somebody must have got to that detractor. There must be a reason that person is detracting. The reason that person is doing that is because they're telling the truth. They're not afraid to stand up to this corrupt, controlling family. You heard in Lucky's testimony today where he's like, listen, I got in Franken truck, I drove up and down the streets, I plowed the middle, then I come back up, and then I go back down the side. Like, he talks about how he has to make multiple runs up and down each street. And of course, he doesn't know the exact time frames, because why would you? It's not like he has a checklist that goes, okay, start Fairview at 2:12, finish Fairview at 12:14. Like, he doesn't have that. He's just driving around in what would normally take 5 or 10 minutes. He's saying, well, I think it was about 5 or 10 minutes. So from the very beginning, all of his times have been estimates. He says it was like the second time around when he kind of did the full loop, and then he came back around, and that's when he saw the Ford Edge that was parked in front of 34 Fairview. And it was essentially what I'm assuming to be in the exact same spot where they said they saw Karen Reed's vehicle, right? So it's kind of right there, sort of close to the flagpole, but also sort of between the front door. Because, by the way, remember, the yard's not very big. It's not like it's an either or. If the car is parked there, you're kind of close to both. But he says he saw a Ford Edge parked there. And of course, it would be inconvenient for him because that's when he was coming back down and he needed to kind of plow over on the right-hand side and couldn't do it because the car is parked there. And then when he comes back down, he can come back up the other side. And of course, he looks over and yep, it's still there and that fucking car's in the way. I would have buried it. I would have just totally thrown all the snow on top of it just to be facetious. And he was trying to be a nice guy because he's supposed to report it. He's supposed to report when someone parks in the street, and he's supposed to have the car towed. And because he was a good guy and he was like, you know what, the Alberts very rarely park in the street. There must be a reason. Overflow parking, somebody's there. One of their kids needed to stay the night, something. He was trying to be kind, and that's what's going to bite him in the ass, is because they're going to say, why didn't you report it? Why didn't you follow policy? Why didn't you have it towed? But the part that interests me the most is, again, Hank Brennan is supposed to be a prosecuting attorney trying to prove that Karen Reed hit John with her car. So when he spends all of his time with Lucky on cross-examination talking about, like, when did the blogger call you? And what did the blogger say to you? And did the blogger write mean things about you? And did the blogger scare you? And who were you afraid of? And did the private eye scare you? He's going to all of these lengths to try and make it seem like Lucky is only speaking out because Lucky was made to speak out, instead of like doing what he started to do a little bit later, was challenging, like, are you sure you were on Fairview? Are you sure this was the road? Can you describe the car a little bit closer? What makes you think it was a Ford Edge? Like, he should have probably just tried to chip away at his recollection versus trying to be like, are you here today because Turtle Boy bullied you? And Turtle Boy's in the audience, which makes it even better because they're like, is that him? Is that the mean man who made you be here today? Lucky, just by his physical presence, doesn't strike me as the kind of guy that puts up with a bully. Now, he might not have been in the cool clique growing up. He might not have run in the same circles with the Albert brothers, but he doesn't also strike me as someone who puts up with shit or that people would pick on him. So I think he was there testifying because he was doing the right thing. Nobody from the Canton PD, nobody from the Massachusetts State Police came to talk to him. And they should have. It's not his fault that no one came to talk to him. It isn't. Now, I don't know that I always agree with everything Turtle Boy does. I think he goes a lot further than I would certainly go. But We're here largely because he stuck his freaking nose into something, and he should have. And he knew that something was fishy, and he kept chasing the lead. And there's nothing wrong with that. I love the way Hank says, like, did you drive back by to, like, looky-loo? Like, were you one of those people that once you saw the police, you kept driving by? And then he keeps showing these videos. He's like, you know, 6:15, 6:18, 6:22, 7:12, da-da-da-da. And he's, like, showing all these trucks driving by. And Lucky's like, well, I think that's a pickup truck. And nope, that's not me. Well, that one looks like me, but that's not me. That one looks like me, but that wasn't me. And by the way, he had just testified that he does each road 3 times, right? Because you go down the middle and then you come back up one side and down the other. So it's natural for him to probably drive it by at least 3 times. And he continued the routes for several hours. So there are times that you will see him going back and forth. Now, I don't know if we'll ever be able to prove whose Ford Edge that was parked in front of the house. I have some ideas, but I don't know that we'll ever be able to prove it. Lucky seems to be the only person that saw it and was willing to say anything about it. Of course, this also would have been something that would have been captured on all of those Ring cameras in that neighborhood that suddenly decided to stop working that night. I will finish watching all the testimony from today, and I will get back to you with another video soon.